this is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about some new zombie updates that have kind of slipped under the radar. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and as a big reminder, we have a big week ahead with the launch of Season 6, aka The Haunting, on September 18th. The team is hard at work over at dkdynamite.com, keeping you guys up to date with all things Call of Duty. I also really appreciate the love on my recent Black Ops 6 coverage. There have been quite a few videos to make over the last couple of weeks, and I was kind of sitting on this one for a bit since there's been quite a few other topics I had to discuss first. But real quickly, I do want to mention that the preload for Season 6 has gone live over on Battle.net. It should be popping up shortly on PlayStation and Xbox. I want to say no later than tomorrow evening. You should be seeing it on those platforms. Of course, Steam never gets the preload, but it is important to go ahead and get your hands on this update so that you're not waiting a couple of hours to actually play Season 6 once the update does officially go live this Wednesday. It'll be about 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 o'clock Central, and 12 o'clock Eastern when all the content does become available. I'll be live streaming here on the channel once everything does drop so that we can break everything down, of course. But for those wondering, what is Zombies actually getting with this final update for Modern Warfare 3, real quick, I just want to mention that it's pretty easy to break down. As far as content goes, that leaked PvP mode that was discussed several months ago, that's not actually coming out. It must have been scrapped early on, but it looks like when it comes to the Zombies front, there will be a double cooldown rate for schematics, and they're also removing the sigil requirement to get into Dark Ether rifts. So long as you actually did the quest to go ahead and upgrade those relics to open the Dark Ether portals, you could just jump right into those portals without the need of a sigil. Who knows if they'll actually keep it like that or if this is just a Season 6 exclusive. But with that out the way, I wanted to mention that when I was in DC a couple of weeks ago for the COD Next event, I got to talk to Kevin Drew for a couple of minutes, and we actually talked a little bit about the intel system. So he did confirm to me that the intel menu we saw in Cold War is indeed coming back within Black Ops 6. But the thing is, the entire story of Black Ops 6 Zombies isn't going to be told through just intel, since we know we're getting the return of beautiful cinematic cutscenes. Obviously, Cold War did have in-game rendered cutscenes throughout some of the DLC maps, but when it comes to how the narrative used to be told back in the old days with some other Black Ops titles, we know that we obviously had a ton of radios and ciphers we could find sprinkled around our maps, but a majority of the story was told through cinematics. Now, you could debate that. I would say a majority of the story in Zombies was primarily told through radios and ciphers before Black Ops 3, but I think games like BO3 and 4 really showed us the most when it came to our intro cinematics, our Easter egg ending cutscenes, and I do think with more development time that has gone into Black Ops 6 compared to a pandemic-made game like Cold War, there's going to be a lot more opportunity to tell a rich story in ways other than intel. Obviously, with Cold War, they were really held back and strained on time. Obviously, it wasn't their Call of Duty to begin with. According to the press, it was Sledgehammer's, so there was a number of reasons as to why we didn't get as many cinematics for the Cold War zombie maps. But Kevin Drew also confirmed to select zombie creators that the way intel is going to be handled in BO6 won't be exactly how it was handled in Cold War. And what I think he meant by that is we're not going to see as much intel in BO6, especially important intel that tells a majority of the story. Instead, there'll be a better blend between intel pieces you can find around the environments and through Easter egg steps, along with the actual cinematic cutscenes and other means that also help push the Dark Ether storyline that much farther. Now, Kevin said that intel in BO6 is going to help answer questions, set up some new ones, and continue building upon the world that we saw began in Cold War with this Dark Ether narrative, right? Obviously, the Dark Ether storyline consists of games like Cold War, Vanguard, and Modern Warfare Z, with Black Ops 6 being the fourth entry. Now, I can't say too much right now, but there's something pretty big we have planned over on dkdynamite.com that I'll likely be announcing in the coming weeks. For those out there that are especially interested in the storyline of Call of Duty Zombies, cannot wait to show you what we have in store. But I think some fans have made clear that they love the placement of some of the OG radios and ciphers from older zombie maps, because it felt like you could really be imaginative with how that radio was put there, or you could be imaginative with kind of what was happening in the map while that radio was taking place. You can visualize the story being told through that audio, and while I do agree with that fully, I think placement is going to be really important for Black Ops 6 Zombies intel. I also wouldn't mind having that main menu for intel so that we can listen to the audio again outside of the game to really digest what's going on without worrying about a zombie being behind us and possibly downing us while trying to dive into the story. But I think you'll have so many more people interested in how the story is told in Black Ops 6 Zombies when there is that good blend between pieces you can find around the environment versus the actual cutscenes you could watch after doing an Easter egg or something. But something else I wanted to discuss, which has also kind of been swept under the rug a little bit, but then again, you guys may just not have seen this clip, flip, Codename Pizza did confirm in a new Zombies video a few days ago that while he was playing Terminus at Treyarch back in, I think it was July, there was a specific area on the ship that was closed off for their play session.
It should also be noted that when we went to Treyarch to go and play Terminus earlier in the year, there were parts of the map that we were not allowed to play in. They were fully locked off. There was a room on the shipwreck that we could not go into. Most likely because it's a major part of the Easter egg or major part of the story. And there's most likely stuff locked off on Liberty Falls also.
Now, it's totally possible that that room was specifically for an Easter egg step, hence why they couldn't access it. Or is it possible that in the build they played, that room was just simply locked off because maybe it was a spoiler for the narrative? Who actually knows what the deal is with that? But I think it was an important point that he brought that up, considering there are folks out there right now saying that Liberty Falls could be much bigger than what we all assumed, because at the build that we saw at COD Next, the map did seem pretty limiting. Now, I want to reiterate yet again that Kevin Drew himself also confirmed in the COD pod recently that Terminus and Liberty Falls are drastically different maps. I mean, there's a night and day difference, literally, but it has been made very clear that Liberty Falls is meant to be that casual map that players could just jump into, get challenges done. There still will be a main quest and other secrets to discover, but the content-rich map is Terminus. And like I said before, we're looking at a Blood of the Dead / Shadows of Evil type experience with Terminus, whereas I think Liberty Falls is more in line with D Machine, but a lot more than what the Giant had to offer, and that was a bonus map. Liberty Falls is not a bonus map at all, but is going to be a much smaller map in scale. However, it is possible there could have been rooms closed off in the build that we got to play at COD Next. I also think that there's a high probability we get to visit other areas that weren't in that playable space through the main Easter egg. What about the area that Richtofen was exploring in the intro cinematic? I mean, that's a big question right there. There have also been these comparisons made in the Final MWZ cutscene where you can see this tower in the distance within that dark ether portal. That mysterious figure that could be the Shadow Man seems to have been coming out of an area that we can maybe also see in the distance of Liberty Falls in West Virginia. That tower kind of matches, so maybe that's also a very important area that we just don't know much about yet. But speaking of Liberty Falls, I want to give a big shout out to Beware the Six, a really cool and upcoming zombie YouTuber that has a very unique style in his videos, a style that I haven't really seen done before in the zombies community. Beware the Six also provides a fresh spin on zombies content that I think is desperately needed in the zombie specific community, so once again, he's going to be linked down below. He does make pretty clear that from that marketing we got from the Truth Lies, that was several months ago now, we did get a bunch of those VHS-like recordings of what appeared to be the zombie takeover of the town, Liberty Falls. So considering that that wasn't really ever followed up on, I know when I first saw that I assumed that maybe those were little clips of the intro cinematic for the map. Considering that that wasn't the case, maybe there is a lot more that we just don't know about Liberty Falls yet that'll either be explored during the Easter egg or simply when the map fully comes out and maybe more areas are accessible. But regardless of your hype for Terminus or Liberty Falls, I don't think there's been enough discussion about that third zombie map either. I talked about this in a video about, I want to say, a week and a half ago or whatnot, and we'll talk more about this probably after the launch of Black Ops 6 Zombies once we learn more clues as to where we're going next. But considering a third map is coming out before the end of the year, that has me really intrigued to see what type of map that's going to be. Will DLC 1 for Black Ops 6 be on par with a map like Terminus, or even like a Dreisendracht, for example, a very content-rich map, or will it be a much smaller experience like Liberty Falls? I'm gonna assume it's probably something more in line with Terminus if it's gonna come out before the end of the year. They're gonna want to start the DLC cycle off on a bit of a bang, but if that is the case and we only end up getting 4 other round-based maps after the launch of Black Ops 6, that means there's 3 maps left for 2025. They're gonna have to split those up in what I assume is gonna be a schedule that looks like this, right? Season 1, 3, 4 Reloaded, maybe even 6. There's some pretty big gaps in between some of those seasons, so hopefully there's other round-based maps that drop along the way, or they'll just end up figuring out how to better fill up those roadmaps with additional zombies content every major update. The last thing I'll end with is a very interesting series of tweets from leaker Alex over on Twitter. He did go ahead and say that apparently he found something pretty cool. It seems like something is coming called Hardcore Quest. Again, take all leaks and rumors with a grain of salt. I'm only bringing this up because it could spark some pretty cool discussion. We talked about hardcore a little bit in one of my last zombie videos. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about what could be a classic mode, other LTMs coming to round-based, and I do think all of that could of course be placeholder. Like people typically say, grief is usually in the files for every new Treyarch Zombies experience. It just never really ended up coming out after BO2, so there's that. But I think when it comes to a hardcore mode, maybe difficulties like we saw in BO4 are going to be added to BO6 in the future, and by doing an Easter egg in a hardcore or realistic version of that map, maybe you get a bonus. Or this could be a situation where they could end up introducing that World War II system again, where there's a casual Easter egg with guided steps and then a hardcore version. Even though that's kind of what we're getting with Black Ops 6 to an extent, you have a standard Easter egg hunt when a map comes out and a guided version with steps several weeks later after that quest is already solved. Maybe the hardcore leak is something related to that, but he also mentioned a side quest to get the map's wonder weapon. And this is going to be something for Terminus. That's to be expected, right? Every time we see a new wonder weapon, there's likely a quest tied to unlocking it without having to worry about spinning the mystery box. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comments section. Figured I'd drop you a zombies video tonight talking about a couple of updates that you guys may have missed over the last few crazy weeks from the Black Ops 6 multiplayer beta. We have the Haunting this week, so I'll be focused a bit on Modern Warfare 3, and then we'll kind of circle back to some more BO6 coverage shortly after that. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.